What's up, EKN Nation? How are you today? It is June the 17th. It's a Wednesday, middle of the way through this week. Fantastic, obviously, news from this past weekend. There's a number of different programs getting going. Of course, one of our face-to-faces last week, we talked to Mike Smith, filling us in on how things are getting rolling at Cal Speed as well. So California getting rolling. And David, we talked to Marco Oldoffer as well from the F-Series up at New York Race Complex. New York State starting to get rolling here by the end of the month as well. So it just feels like I think almost every region that we have going is getting rolling again with karting, which is great for the industry.
It's great. I mean, everybody's getting haircuts now, which is good. And I forgot where my razor is, so I gotta take care of that. But things are moving in the right direction, as we mentioned last week when we talked to Scott Smith from Buckeye Karting Challenge, and as you mentioned, Mike Smith from Cal Speed. Things are gradually getting there. We're almost at 100%. We're not quite there yet. We still have some facilities that are not quite opening up yet. KPX announced a 3-race schedule. We're going to post that up on the on social media here later today.
We should get those guys on too pretty soon. We haven't talked to those boys.
Yep. So stuff's looking good in California because, as you said, Mike Speed opening up. We got a big race this weekend in Phoenix with the California Rock Championship.
Yeah.
Next weekend, as you said, we have F-Series. We have the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati opening up their first ever club program that they're going to be hosting this season as well. Lots of guy who we're going to talk to just opened up 2 weekends ago. Lots going on across the country, and it's good to see.
Yeah, shout out to anybody who's starting to come in here. Remember, if you're on here, you want to ask some questions or make comments, just do that in the commentary below, and we'll be able to bring those into the show for you. And again, as David said, let's bring in our guest for today, one of our faves, a guy that we've known for a long time in the sport, Greg Jasperson from Cup Karts North America, joining us. Greg, great to have you, bud.
How's it going?
I will say this: we talked about the fact that we've got some notes, right, that we worked through, and we're all ready to go. I'm looking at the introduction. And David, you can start smiling. It says Greg Jasperson, Cup Karts North America, and then in brackets it says beat Rob Howden at the Rock Island Grand Prix in 2014, Briggs 206 Masters. So that's something that you don't have in common with Dave because Dave's never beat me, but you definitely have. Yeah, that was actually the funny thing is it was a really good battle. We were having a good fight for second, third, and fourth. Tony Nielsen was gone. I qualified beside him, but man, it was me, you, and I think it was Jeff Scott. Was in that battle, and that was fun. I didn't run defensive enough on the last lap, and you guys rolled me, so I had to finish in fourth.
Well, last lap at Rock Island, things can tend to happen, so we all made it through, which is what mattered.
That's true enough. Anyways, great to have you here, folks. For those of you maybe just tuning in for the first time or watching this, of course, on our YouTube channel. If you're not watching on Facebook, you can always watch all of our shows on our YouTube channel. Cup Karts North America really has kind of reignited, I think, karting. 4-cycle karting in the Midwest. Of course, we've had Greg on other podcasts before talking about what they did and the motivation to get this program rolling. But they have their Champions Cup series, which is a traveling series, and then of course the Grand Nationals at Newcastle last year. David Cole and I were able to race that, the 3rd edition. Greg, before we get into anything else, did you just go back a little bit and look at the massive growth of that event? It reminds me of the Super Nats to a certain extent, right? It's like the 4-cycle Super Nationals. And it's just starting to grow and grow. The numbers last year were amazing. It's going to be bigger this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's really rewarding to see that people are responding to the program that we've put together. The families that have become a part of this series, and even just that race, it really makes it worthwhile for what we're doing.
I've been doing this for 25 years, and I said this when we were at Newcastle last year, and David would probably echo my statements. When I was at the first couple of Super Nationals and everybody that was there knew that they were a part of something special, right? It was, wow, this is this new outlaw shifter kart thing. It's going to be this big race. Everybody was coming into play. And that's how I felt when we were at Newcastle last year. Everybody was kind of walking around. They were all happy that they were actually part of it. Like they were experiencing this start of history.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate the comparison. I mean, what the guys at SCUSA have done is amazing with that program, and for the Vegas race. I mean, I finally got to go a couple years ago, and I was just awestruck by what they've done, and it's a great model for us to try to put an event together even close to that caliber.
Well, David, we'll jump into this thing right now because obviously, Greg, the Cup Karts North America and the Champions Cup was not immune to what was happening with the whole COVID-19 shutdown that really locked karting down for 2 or 3 months. Give us your update now. You guys are rolling, as David had mentioned. You guys actually had your first race already.
Yeah, so we had our first race just about a week and a half ago. Wasn't the track we expected to go to. We had to gut pretty much the whole first half of our schedule just from all the states having different policies. But we were finally able to get going at 61 Kartway in Del Mar, Iowa. Put on a great event there. We had over 100 carts a day, which is the biggest event that we've ever had there, and I believe that they've ever had for just a regular karting event. So, yeah, it was great. Good turnout in all the classes, excellent racing on track. So we were very, very happy that even though we had quite a few regulars that we knew couldn't come that weren't there because of various reasons associated with the coronavirus, we had so many new families that participated that we were able to beat our old number by almost 20%.
Man, that's awesome. Let's jump in. Tell us what's the next event? Where are we going? I know that one of your events was TBD. Your third event, you hadn't figured out exactly where you're going to go yet. Can you give us any information here on Face2Face on kind of what's happening?
Yeah, so our next event's going to be 4th of July weekend at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Mike was kind enough to work with us and some of his other customers that had weekends there, and they jockeyed some schedules around to open up a weekend for us, which was amazing for both him and the other series that were able to help us make that work. So we're going to do a big 4th of July spectacular there. And I'm actually happy to announce that just yesterday we came to an agreement with MRP. So we are going to be doing the third race at MRP. It's, I believe, 2 weeks after the Newcastle race. It's July 25th through 27th, I believe.
Nice. Okay. Now let's talk about, I know before we came on the show, you talked a little bit about the race, the July 4th weekend race. What do we got going for a track layout at Newcastle?
So that's kind of a funny story. A lot of people have been concerned that we're going to run the same track we've ran for nationals, which obviously we weren't going to do. Newcastle is one of the few tracks that I don't have a ton of seat time at. I've just, I only go there for nationals and there's no time for me to go and play around in a go-kart. But working with Mike Adams that runs the place and a few other racers, we kind of came up with some different parts and pieces of the track that people liked. Newcastle right now has over, I believe, 46 track layouts. We paged through all of them and what we wanted wasn't one of them. So spent some time on the phone with Mike last night and early this morning, and I'm actually really excited to announce that we have created track 47 for Newcastle, and we will be the first series to ever run it. Are
you going to release that somewhere? When are people going to know what this track is?
Yeah, so Mike was going to try to get an email sent off to me before we started this, because obviously he had to get the old Photoshop out. I'm just checking my computer right now, and I don't have it yet.
Come on, let's go.
But the really cool part about this is so for nationals, we've always used what I don't know what their terminology is, but I call it the front half of the track or the main track section. Yeah. We've never gone out to the back section behind the scale house where they have the tri-oval and things like that. We're going to be utilizing the entire facility. So it's going to be a much longer lap. Obviously, we've had to adjust the schedule and some race lengths because of that. Everyone's going to still have the same track time, a couple less laps just so we can make it all fit into the day. But we're going to be this will be the longest track layout that we've ever ran for a Cup Karts event.
It's a 14-mile layout. It's a one lap around Newcastle.
It's what it could end up being. Yeah.
Well, it could be interesting if we did that, but no, I believe, obviously we don't know yet because he's got to map it out, but I believe it's about 0.9 miles. It's close to a mile. All but right. So we're going to do 5-lap heats, 8-lap features is what it looks like will fit into the schedule. But there's some really neat passing opportunities, some extra elevation changes. I know the corner coming off the tri-oval is a favorite for some of the Newcastle locals, so that was something we really wanted to try to include.
Yeah, we obviously ran that with the Superkarts USA crew last year too. That's a really cool corner. Registration already open for that race?
Yep. Registration opened just a few days ago. I've already got a fair amount of people registered. Of course, as we always talk, no one registers until the day before the event. So, anyone who jumps on there and says, "Oh, nobody's going," that's not the case. I can tell you that our pre-registration numbers versus what actually showed up at 61 Kartway was almost 40% different. So,
oh man,
it's amazing how many people don't pre-register, and that's fine.
We have that conversation all the time, Greg.
Yes, we do. I've honestly gotten to the point where I don't even look at it before the races anymore because it's out of my control at that point. So I'm going to trust that at this point the people are going to come, and we're going to put on the race regardless.
But as a promoter, it's a little bit disheartening to see that because you have to prepare for not only staff but, as you said, like scheduling wise, if you get a massive amount of numbers that you weren't expected to get, it affects the scheduling a little bit, and also tires as well too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it puts us into a little bit of a bind. We end up bringing a lot more tires to the track than we probably need to most of the time, because the last thing we ever want to do is run out of tires, or any supply for that matter. Fuel, some tracks we bring in the fuel because there's no gas station nearby. So that's a lot of things that we're always, we plan for the worst to make sure that we can always accommodate no matter how many people show up. In fact, up until this year, we never released down to the minute schedules like we do at Grand. So for all of our divisional races, we just kind of give a vague schedule so we can adjust on the fly. The feedback we've gotten from all the racers is they really like that detailed schedule. So that is now something we're doing for all of our events, but that does kind of handcuff us a little bit to change on the fly if we need to. So, we'll always figure it out. We always find a way to make it work either way.
A question coming in from Tom Harleman. How much is the entry for the Champions Cup race at Newcastle?
So if you just register at the gate, it is $70 a day. However, if you pre-register, it's $120 for the weekend. So it saves you $20 if you pre-register. And
that's our big pet peeve, folks. Pre-register, please. Like, come on. It's not that hard. All right. So you had your first race at 61 Kartway. You got Newcastle coming on the July 4th weekend. What is the date actually of the MRP?
The MRP
that's round
race,
3, right?
Yep, the MRP race practice day will be Friday, July 24th, and then we are racing July 25th and 26th.
All right. And then where do we go from there?
So from there, we get a couple weeks off, thankfully, because we'll need it. And then August 21st through 23rd will actually be the 4th race and the final race of the Champions Cup Series for the year, and that's at Road America.
I like that. Now, that's the same weekend, I believe, as the Indianapolis 500 currently. If they don't run that race, let's say they move that race to October, I think that David Cole and I should potentially get out there to get to Road America. I'd love to get to that track. That'd be fun.
It is a really fun track to race. Again, it's another big track. It's got tons of elevation. You actually come down a very fast hill. So it definitely catches some people by surprise the first time they drive it, but it always races well.
And that's the final 2 rounds of the Champions Cup, correct?
Yes, sir.
That'll cap things off. That's where you'll have your champions there. Excellent. Dave, what else you got?
Let's kind of go back to the opener you just had a week and a half ago, because you've kind of mixed up a little bit of the class structure for the Champions Cup. You no longer have 2 open classes. You just have the 1 open class, and you introduced the CIK Senior Light. Tell us a little bit about how the opening weekend went for that change in the structure.
Yeah, all in all, it was a change for the better. I know that some of our competitors were concerned that CIK light class might not have the attendance that they thought that we knew it would for nationals. That was not the case. It was actually the largest class, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it was tied with CIK medium. So
third, it was the third. It was tied with CIK medium. So those were the 2 biggest senior classes. Junior had 21 and Sportsman had 18. So we'll get into those 2 a little bit later. But yeah, I think it kind of was guys did both light and medium, if I looked at the results correctly.
Yeah, I think there were 5 or 6 guys that did both, which, it's great. Obviously, we appreciate it when people want to race that much. We've never wanted to design our schedule or our class structures to force people to do that, because some people just don't want to race 2 classes, can't afford to race 2 classes, and that's fine. But we do also have people that, if they're going out for the weekend, they want to run 2. So we're trying to accommodate as many people that way as we can. The senior open thing is going to be interesting. We've always said we're going to allow the open bodywork guys to race with us as long as they want to come racing. And I stand by that statement. However, at the first weekend, we didn't have the numbers there. The first day, we only had a few people. A couple showed up on Sunday, which was great. We were able to at least have, a respectable number of carts out there. But ultimately, what we told all the competitors was if we can't get that up to a 5 or 6 cart average, we probably won't run that as a class at the Nationals, just because time is so precious there, that we would rather use that time to make the other class races longer, add a different class, whatever it might be. And then obviously we'll revisit it for next year. We respect the open bodywork thing. I myself have raced it for a long time. And as long as those guys want to keep coming racing, we will have a home for them. But we just need them to come to the track and show us that.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? That's all you can do as long as you can offer it up. David, what else you want to get into the junior and the sportsman categories?
Yeah, I think it's got to be a good feeling to know that 2 of your biggest categories were 2 of the younger categories with junior and sportsman, because that kind of leads to what the future is going to bring, not only for your series, but karting in general. It's great to see a lot of these young kids getting off started in the Briggs 206 package, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is a good sign for the future. And I can tell you some of the racing in those classes is phenomenal. 61's a great track, but it's not the easiest track to pass at. I can tell you the racecraft that we saw some of those kids demonstrate was truly impressive. And the respect that they gave each other, to be honest with you. I mean, everyone knows any series out there, some of the youth classes, sometimes there's some youthful mistakes made that cause some stuff on the track, and we're not immune to that. But I was very impressed with the kids in the room that they gave each other and how hard they raced each other. And always, seeing them at the end of the race, talking with each other at the scales. And even in our kid kart class, which is not the biggest class and will never be the biggest class, we've got some new blood there, and we've got some kids that are coming in, and it's, that the future looks bright for karting if we can keep those classes the way they are.
Yeah, agreed for sure. Let's talk a little bit about how I know it's obviously a lot of stress with the whole COVID-19, the pandemic, the shutdown. Can you talk about potentially working with the tracks, working with your sponsors? How did everybody just kind of come together to make sure everything was going to be good when we got racing again?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all the sponsors, play a key role in all this. Some of them we need to lean on for help finding people, help finding supplies, making sure that they're in the loop. Some of them, aren't as involved as others, but all of them play a part in those decisions. Quite frankly, the tracks have been a really big part of it. Not only the tracks we weren't able to go to, because our first priority was to try to find a way to make it work at the tracks that we had scheduled. Yeah. And staying in touch with them, trying to figure out with their local governments what's going on. I've learned a lot of new things about government and communicating with those people that I didn't know and quite frankly didn't want to know. But for us, truly the biggest thing has been our staff. Just as everyone else is impacted in their own work lives, our staff has been affected by it as well. I've got two guys that quite frankly probably won't make a single race this year because of obligations at work. Thankfully they're working, but they're not able to get the time off of work. I've got a couple guys that are limited on when they can and can't come. So we've had to tap into some of the local tracks to bring in some extra people. Our biggest thing is our race director, Matt, from last year, is not going to be able to attend any of the races up until this point, and the next two as well, it looks like. So we had to dig deep, and we've actually called up Glenn Firing, and I'm really happy to announce that Glenn's going to come back and race direct for the remainder of the season for us. Glenn's been a great guy. He's got more racing credentials than anybody out there when it comes to racing.
A little bit of experience.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Glenn got us started out. Glenn was our race director the first couple of years, and he really helped us set a groundwork for the way we do things now. And I'm eternally grateful to him for that. And, he stepped away for his own personal reasons. Just wanted some time to spend with his wife and build his custom fishing rods. I should probably get him a plug for that, but I don't know what the company name is, but he makes an excellent fishing rod. That's what he loves to do. But called him up. Steve and myself had a conversation with him, and he knew we were in a little bit of a bind, and he always told us if we ever need help to give him a call, and that's what we did. And he already booked his flights.
That's awesome. Let's, Dave, anything else for Champions Cup for you, or do we make the switch to the Grand Nationals at this point?
You can kind of talk a little bit more about MRP. You guys have been there before, so I think this has got to be third, fourth, or fifth time you guys have been there with the program.
Yeah, I think this will be our third year there. We did take a year off at one point, and ultimately our plan was to start. We have more tracks than we can run in a year that we'd like going to. So it got to the point where we had to start shuffling tracks around. And MRP just was one of those tracks. We said, okay, we're going to take a year off. We'll go back another year. But ultimately now it came down to what states could we run a race in for sure. We had two races scheduled for Illinois. And both tracks that we really wanted to go to. And there's a chance they would have opened up in time for us to be able to hold a race. But we needed some definite answers at this point. The racers deserve to know where they're going to race. So we started looking at tracks we knew we could race at. MRP, we've always gotten great numbers there. And it's excellent racing. So, we called up Gary, who owns the track, and had a conversation with him. And he said we were more than welcome back. So we put a plan together very quickly. Actually, I was very pleased with how fast we were able to put that together, and off we go.
I have to believe you guys have been doing this long enough nowadays that putting a plan together, it's really plug and play. You guys have your program kind of dialed in these days.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I said earlier, the biggest issue we have with this whole, is the coronavirus affecting staffing. Just trying to make sure we can get the bodies in place because as we've grown, we're having to add more people, and we're still trying to add more people. So while we're trying to add, we're also kind of losing a couple of our regulars here and there. So that's been the biggest trick to it. But thankfully, there's a lot of people that want to help us when we need help. So we've been able to pull it off.
Speaking of adding a lot of people, let's talk about the Grand Nationals, because you can't just use a regular staff for that one, because that event is just so massive. It continues to grow. Let's get rolling about Grand Nationals 4, man. It's just around the corner, 4 months away.
Is that all?
I think September. Yeah, about 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Is there planning underway? Of course there is. We've been planning that race since about a week after we left the track. We're working through some track layout things right now. In fact, that announcement will get made, what track we'll be running for the Nationals sometime after our 4th of July race, because the plan is I will have the time to actually drive the track and kind of feel it out for myself to decide if we want to make a change or if we want to stick with the layout that we've ran very successfully. Because obviously we don't want to change something just to change it. We're only going to change it if we think it's better for some reason. But yeah, we're expecting big numbers for that race as always. Our hope is that the Canadian border will open up in time for all of our friends from the north to come and join us.
Yep.
I've been in contact with a few of those guys that have been dedicated supporters of ours. And they're chomping at the bit to get back over here and race with us. Obviously it's out of all of our control. But hopefully with the race being in October, things will have lightened up enough where those guys can come and join us again.
Yeah. So for those of you maybe not know, the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals on the first weekend of October, which is what, David? But look at your calendar, Dave.
Look on the sheet there, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the notes there. At Newcastle Motorsports.
At Newcastle Motorsports Park.
I want to put the bid in for the same racetrack as last year because one, I was faster than Rob was there, but two, I think it provides a great racetrack because I had never been on that track or seen races using the configuration that you did use. I think it worked out great, and I think I like the idea of changing, but it's almost like, hey, maybe every other year or 2 years for every layout type mentality, because people want to go back and experience that same racetrack again, even though we all know it's Newcastle, and the national track seems to be the bore of everybody's, at least 2-cycle wise existence. But that's why you see SCUSA changing, USPKS, WK, all the different programs that continue to go there. So it'll be interesting to see. I'd love to hear what racers think about the layout and if they want to go back or if they want something different.
Yeah, for sure.
We got a couple guys on here. If anybody's on the side wants to ask us questions about tell us what you think about the track. We'll bring you on here in a couple seconds. I thought David would want to change the track because maybe if you did, his chain would be able to stay on and he'd be able to finish the main event. But I don't know.
that was Marshall Martin's fault. So I'll throw him under the bus. But but it also had to do with the weather and changing everything. And so it's not exactly his fault, but it's just the racing gods sometimes, sometimes you get put in a wall at Rock Island, sometimes you don't, right?
That's right.
So sometimes you get put into the wall many times at Rock Island.
Many times. Like every time I'm not there, David Cole's on the wall. Chuck Maitland says run it backwards. That's a thought.
Yeah, we actually had that conversation. I've been advised that for the class sizes that we're anticipating wouldn't be the best call.
Tom Harleman says the track was fun. I love having the Monza in it, which I thought was really cool. And he also had said before that he'd like to have a second chance at running it, going to what David said, right? A second shot at it. Jeff Scott says take the kink out and give us a little more straightaway. That's another opportunity as well.
Yeah.
Greg's like, I'll do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah. This isn't a democracy.
It's a democracy.
I never said that.
I will say this. I did enjoy the track. I thought the track was really cool. Cutting into the Monza, coming back around. I thought it was a really cool track for sure. All right, David, what else you got here? Let's keep going. Let's talk about numbers. What do you and people after the race, obviously, Greg, you take a little bit of time off, and then you go to work on the phone a bit in the off season. People that you're talking to, teams that you're talking to, you're hearing a potential. I got to think more Canadians are going to come down if the border's open, which I believe it will be. Where else do you think you're going to see more growth from?
Well, I think we draw pretty well right now from that Midwest core group.
Yeah.
It's an easy trip for a lot of people. I mean, beyond Newcastle being such a great facility, there's an obvious reason to choose it for a big event because it's so central to so many people. I can tell you that there's a contingency from Seattle that I've been talking with that's working on actually figuring out a way to get an 18-wheeler together to put as many go-karts as they can, just so they can all get down there without having to pull their individual trailers. Art down at RLV does a great job at promoting us down in the California area. He always gets some people to come up from down there. I really expect to see a big contingent from the Florida, Carolinas area this year. We spent some time in the off season talking with the folks from GoPro. So they're going to make sure that this year they don't run an event in conflict with us, which there has been the last couple of years. And thanks to Paul Rice at MGM and Vega down there for really spreading the word to those folks down in that part of the country, because I really think there's going to be a good turnout from there.
I know I mentioned Canada before as well, just to update a lot of people. Our new daily cases of the coronavirus keep going down and down, less than 400 yesterday, which is great. We just keep going down. So I have a feeling we'll have that thing locked down. I think we'll probably be able to open it up. But you guys had like a bit of a pseudo partnership, or at least we're working together with the Can-Am race that they were putting on, the 4-cycle festival up in Quebec. I think that they were going to get they buy some entries to the Grand Nationals. That race obviously not a go. But is that something you think you might think doing more of, some more maybe combination partnerships with other programs around the country?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of people that are like-minded out there for how karting should move forward, specifically 4-cycle. Yeah. Thankfully we've met some of those people up north where 206 has had such a huge impact on karting up in Canada. So yeah, we are definitely open to any types of partnerships like that, because truly it's easy to do. I think over the years, the rule book that we've been using and the rule book that Canada's been using have become much more aligned, where there's so few differences that it's not very difficult for someone to go from one race to the other. Ultimately, yeah, I'd love to find a way to do some type of co-op event where not only do their racers come to us, but at some point our racers go to them, and put on some type of Can-Am package. I don't know how quickly that can happen, and obviously coronavirus has thrown a kink in any types of those plans.
Yeah, exactly that.
But it's something we continue to work towards, and hopefully someday can come to fruition.
Anything new we can talk about with the Grand Nationals? Any format changes? Any new prizes coming in? Whatever it may be.
Well, we're working with one of the kart manufacturers who I still have to rename nameless at this point, but we does sound like we will be giving away a chassis. Okay. Brand new racing package, probably one that you didn't even break this time.
I didn't break.
Hey, that kart actually sat on the pole at Del Mar, did it not?
Was that the same kart?
That's the kart. Yeah,
it was the same kart. The junior driver. I forgot the name.
I did not know that. Well, they've obviously replaced some bodywork since they got it from you. So, but yeah, so
they came back beautiful shape. Had a little rubber on it. That's about it.
But yeah, I mean, so we're obviously working with all of our sponsors to try to put the best stuff we can together. The plan is to do the live stream again. We're hopefully going to add a few new things to that as well. I'm actually working with a company out of Europe that does a really, really cool video overlay for the live stream, and it'll look very similar to what you see for Formula One or something like that, where you got the ticker up on the side of the screen. Nice. That it's a little bit of a reach technology wise for us, so I'm scrambling to learn all that, but if we can pull it off, we will. And the sponsors always step up big. All I have to do is call them and say, hey, I need a little help to put some more stuff on the table for Grand Nationals. And you can ask Mike, the amount of cardboard from all the boxes of things that get shipped in for that race is larger than anything they see all year. So yeah, I have no worries that we'll have a ton of stuff to give away at Grand Nationals, because our sponsors support us so well for that.
How about this? What we have last year in the senior class, 70 something. Is there a potential to have to cap at 80? Like, if you start getting, there's only so much time, right? You could, unless it's going to be a 4-day event. Is there an opportunity to have to cap some of these classes?
So one of the discussions that we've been having internally is, do we need to change the format to accommodate more people? Yeah. One of the thoughts is to make Friday do qualifying Friday night, which is something we've avoided because we do have some families that are working families that taking the extra day off of work impacts them. So We're going to try to avoid that if we can, but the writing's on the wall. If this thing keeps growing, we're going to have to do something to accommodate it. I'm not a big fan of class caps. The last thing I want to do is limit the amount of people that can come and participate with us. I'm hoping that between adding another senior class this year, that will help alleviate some of that problem. And quite frankly, if we had to go to an LCQ feature format where maybe not everyone gets to make the final, I would be much more inclined to do that versus capping entries.
When do we have the discussion of lowering the weight for the Masters drivers?
I think we have one that Friday. I think we get all the drivers together and band together and get something done, and then come to not you. We'll go to whoever the race director is. If it's Rick Folks, he'll have to listen to us. But that's my idea. But yeah, that's one thing I've tried to work on throughout. I wanted to work on this year, but obviously we can't because we're not trackside. Is kind of a weight diagram or a weight column. And talking about, how much weight people are actually putting on and stuff like that. But yeah, me and Rob, we're 200 pounds and we're adding 25 to 30 pounds on just to make weight. It just seems odd.
Well, if you're complaining about adding 25 to 30 pounds, I got a lot of racers that would laugh at that because they're adding way more than that.
Jeff Scott goes, yes, because he wants to lower. Because Jeff weighs about $150, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
So I believe, this is actually something that was discussed in the off season. I did get a fair amount of emails to that point. We looked at it. We did a much less official weight study than you probably would have, David, just throughout the last race and Grand Nationals. We tried to take as many notes as we could when we had time. And at this point, we thought it was too soon to make an adjustment to the Masters weight. Quite frankly, as much as we hate adding classes to just for the sake of adding classes, if we had enough guys, we could do 2 Masters classes. So that is, one of the things that was an option. I've also gotten some emails to add, I would call it a super seniors class, but maybe a slightly older age. The 35 age has become in question a lot. There's a lot of us that are now qualified as Masters that some of the older drivers aren't a big fan of. So there's definitely
you mean like when I went to Rock Island for the first year of 206 Masters and I had to race against 30-year-old Tony Nielsen? I'm like,
I think he was 29 on Friday and turned 30 on Saturday.
Probably. But hey, listen, that's the spread. It is, right? 30. Are you guys 30 or 35 for Masters?
We're 35.
You're 35. All right. Well, I'm 51, so I'll be 52 by the time we get there. That's always. If David ever beats me, that's always the thing I'll be able to fall back on. The 10 years difference. I've got that.
Hey, nothing like having a built-in excuse.
That's exactly right. Well, David's had one.
That's Rob Howden.
David's had one for 15 years.
Yeah, I want a job.
You got one, Dave. You're good to go. All right, listen. I guess we're pretty much wrapped up. Anything else, David? You want to bring in here?
No, you hit on the format. I was going to get into that, but yeah, it's obviously you said if there's going to be no caps, there's obviously going to have to be a little bit of an adjustment. With the schedule, as you said. I think with the heat races formats, the A, B, C, and D, you're able to get 40 to 60 carts out on a track for each heat. So I think that really allows you to open up to say 120 entries in one class. So and then as you said, just run an LCQ to get those final, however many positions. So I think that's kind of a great. Gary Lawson's 37. So there you go.
Yeah. There's no excuse excuse racing against Gary Lawson. He's the legend.
Yeah. So I think I'm excited about it. I know we have battled the Brickyard before we go to the Cup Karts Grand Nationals, but I'm excited about getting back to Newcastle.
Me too. We're gonna do our burger smash again if that's okay with you. Raise some money for Rally Kids.
Absolutely. And actually, you kind of set a trend with that. We're going to actually be doing a barbecue cookout of our own at the 4th of July race.
Good for you guys. That's awesome.
I'm really happy to announce actually Cartlift, came on board and they're going to be providing all the food, beverages, everything for everyone. So for that 4th of July race, once racing's done, obviously they'll get the barbecue going. We're going to have some carnival games set up right out on the track, actually. Nice. So we're going to do the cookout and everything right out in the middle of, right at the start finish line. And then at 10 o'clock, a very, very large fireworks display. I'm actually told it's going to be larger than the local city's fireworks. So we're actually expecting quite a few locals to show up because we've had a few people who have asked to remain nameless, but a few people that have kicked in a fair amount of money to help us put on just a really killer fireworks display.
That's awesome. That's a great connection. I do want to thank you guys. We raised $4,000 last year for Riley kids being able to do the Burger Smash at your track, which is your event, which is great. And to have Kartlift stepping up for this, it's just going to make that weekend so much more fun too. It's great.
Yeah, you know, I mean, the whole idea for a 4th of July, I've always wanted to avoid a race on 4th of July because it's kind of a family weekend. Quite frankly, USAC and Brickyard broke the mold for that. They proved that people want to go racing that weekend. So, but we still wanted it to be as family oriented as we could. So that's why we thought doing fireworks, carnival games, and obviously the barbecue was a good way to accomplish that.
I love it. David, anything else? We'll wrap things up here.
No, that's it. Looking forward to seeing what happens with the rest of the season for both the Champions Cup and at the Grand Nationals. All
right, here's my final question for you. What was the final number last year at Grand Nationals 3? Where are we at, David?
Let me find it. Hold on.
David pull it up better than I do. Probably I could pull it up quick. I want to say it was 253,
281.
281. Oh, wow. So, what's the goal this year?
Oh God. You always put me on the spot.
That's what I do. It's 300's enough, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 300's plenty. Quite frankly, if the world kind of stays calm and we don't have any more uproars and the weather plays along well with us, I think 300's probably a pretty low number. But
I think 350 maybe.
Yeah, that's probably very feasible.
I like the fact that you shuddered when you said that.
Steve wants 350.
Steve Vermeer wants 350.
Yep, he wants 350.
Oh, he wants 500. He just won't. He probably won't post that. But I mean, of course, we want to put on the biggest, baddest event that we can. Newcastle's so supportive for that event. I mean, anything we've ever asked for, they've helped provide and more. If it can be done, that's where we'll do it.
Yeah, and listen, like I said, it just feels like the Supernats. You know what I mean? It feels like that's the way this race is becoming for the 4-cycle world. And I think you're going to see guys coming in from California. You said some people potentially from Seattle. I think you're going to see a lot more people, a lot more guys I've talked to up here in Canada are coming down as well. We know Trevor Wickens from Prime Power Team brought a big team of Burrells down there. The PSL guys were there. You already have a good contingent of guys that from just across the border that come to some of your races as well. So I think 350 is definitely an opportunity. I really do.
No, I do too. And there's some potential partnerships that we're working on for this year yet that could easily add 40, 50 entries at the drop of a hat. So we're hoping that those are things that we'll be able to announce maybe in the next, 4 to 6 weeks. But, there are a lot of moving pieces and obviously a lot of people playing catch up right now with plans that we'd already made.
No doubt. Listen, Greg, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
No, I thank you guys for having us and truly thank you for all the support you guys have given us over the years. This whole deal has truly started out as a grassroots deal. Yeah. And, everything that you guys have done, social media, just getting the word out to the karting community as a whole has been really supportive. So thank you for that.
That's what we're here for. David, last thoughts?
We're done.
Hashtag beat David Cole.
No.
Yes. I'm all over it. Folks, it's been Greg Jasperson. Where is he? Right there. There. From Cup Karts North America. Again, their next race, July 4th weekend, Newcastle Motorsports Park. If you're looking for an event, you talked about how great it's going to be. They got a lot of stuff going on, a barbecue. They got fireworks. Going to have some games going on. Round number 3 will be at MRP, Michiana Raceway Park. Round number 4, the finale of the Champions Cup, August 21 to 23, CTEC Manufacturing Motorplex up at Road America. A tremendous racetrack. They used to have major national events. Stars of Karting was there. A great track and just a great venue. Road America is just an awesome venue. And of course, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, the 4th running of the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. If you're a 4-cycle driver, put that one on your schedule. We need 350. It's going to be a big one. Greg, again, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
All right, folks, we are done here. Greg, great to have him joining us. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, we've got the good folks from Racing for Vets. It's a new program, not a new program. It's a program I want to learn a lot more about. They do some great stuff with karting and veterans that are suffering from PSTD. So we're going to talk to 3 of the people from Racing for Vets tomorrow at 2:00. So we look forward to that one. That will be a really interesting show, and I think a lot of people will want to kind of tune into that one. Dave, thanks for doing a great job with the production, buddy. I appreciate it.
I'm trying, Rob. It's the haircut.
I think the haircut's helped. You're more aerodynamic. Now you just got to get rid of that chin spinach.
Yeah, it's getting there.
It's a little rough. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bucket.